I gotta say, and I'm friendly with the ladies on The View, but they didn't say anything about this week. Nothing. You know, because it's never been their thing to weigh in on the issues.
Look, did y'all really think we weren't gonna talk about Jimmy Kimmel? I mean, have you watched the show over the last 29 seasons? So you know, no one silences us.
But I gotta say, and I'm friendly with the ladies on The View, but they didn't say anything about this week. Nothing. You know, because it's never been their thing to weigh in on the issues. It's just, you know, it's just an upbeat party show. That's why they hired people named Joy and Sunny and Whoopi. But no, girls, let me go out strong, okay? It won't kill you. I promise. It's happened to me, and I may go out after this show. We don't know. We don't know.
Exactly. Whoopi and The View are scrambling because Maher just exposed the fear running through their panel. Instead of addressing the issue head-on, they tiptoe around it, worried about outrage or backlash. Maher's roast highlights their panic perfectly. A show built on discussion suddenly too scared to discuss the controversy. The irony is delicious. They claim to tackle hot topics, yet when it hits someone like Kimmel, suddenly the mics go mute and the talking points disappear.
Did y'all really think we weren't gonna talk about Jimmy Kimmel? I mean, have you watched the show over the last 29 seasons? So you know, no one silences us. And to all my friends in Italy who reached out, you have to know it's okay, we're still here, we're still broadcasting. And when the news broke last week about Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, we took a breath to see if Jimmy was going to say anything about it first. We did the same thing with Stephen Colbert.
The View's break was almost anticlimactic. They danced around the topic, offering the kind of vague, watered-down commentary that screams panic. No real critique, no acknowledgement of the hypocrisy, just enough words to make it look like they said something without actually saying anything. Maher's point? That the show, which built its brand on fearless discussion, suddenly folded the second controversy hit close to home. Their statement was more about protecting themselves than informing viewers, proving exactly why Maher roasted them in the first place.
Then our show was on tape on Friday, but we are live here today, and we're getting into it now. Okay? Because to be clear, you cannot like a show. Now, I want to make sure I got this right. To be clear, you cannot like a show and it can go off the air. Someone can say something they shouldn't and get taken off the air, but the government cannot apply pressure to force someone to be silenced.
Exactly. The narrative that The View somehow paused to hear Kimmel out doesn't hold up. In reality, they treated Kimmel differently than Colbert, not because of principle, but because this controversy hit closer to home. With Colbert, they jumped immediately. With Kimmel, there was hesitation, careful phrasing, and visible hand-wringing. The difference exposes the selective outrage Maher pointed out. Let's watch the clip to see the disparity for ourselves and cut through the spin.
The FCC says they're going to go after maybe next The View. They got a new show lined up. It's going to be great. It's called Morning Wood with James Wood.
Bingo. Ma's point hit hard. The View's courage was purely performative. Once Kimmel's return was guaranteed, suddenly they found their voices. Before that, crickets. The caution, the stiff delivery, the carefully chosen words, it all screamed, "We're only talking now because it's safe." Ma didn't just notice it. He skewered them for it. He exposed the reality. It wasn't bravery. It was risk management disguised as commentary. And that's why the whole segment comes off as more laughable than enlightening. Entertainment wrapped in self-preservation.
And, you know, Jimmy, look, I don't think what he said was exactly right. I don't. We don't agree on that. He didn't lose his job for it. He said the MAGA crowd was trying to characterize the assassin as anything but one of them because the 22-year-old kid, his family was MAGA. As if a 22-year-old with a trans girlfriend never rebelled against their family. I mean, but was he on the left? I don't know that either. And I hate to do this. I'm tipping the end of the show, which I work so hard on to keep a secret from the rest of the show. But it's too relevant. What I'm talking about at the end, I'm gonna have to say now, which is that it is a fool's errand to try to say that these nuts who do these things are any team.
Exactly. Ma didn't stop at The View. He went after Kimmel, too. He pointed out that Kimmel's suspension wasn't some grand conspiracy or victimhood moment. It was a consequence of his own words and actions. The whole episode highlighted a pattern. Networks, hosts, and panels all need to realize that influence comes with accountability. Ma's roasting wasn't just entertainment. It was a wake-up call. Oversight, accuracy, and timing matter, even for the biggest names in television. And if you ignore that, the next temporary suspension, or worse, might land closer to your own doorstep.
I mean, Jimmy has every right to be wrong, but look at this guy. He was doing video games with furries. He was on a game called Furry Shades of Gay 3. This kid is in his basement with VR goggles on, getting virtually ass-fucked by a cartoon wombat? And you're gonna put politics into this?
Exactly. Bill Maher cut through the performative outrage on both sides. While most of late night and Hollywood circles were busy tiptoeing around the controversy, pretending Kimmel was either untouchable or entirely blameless, Maher acknowledged the nuance. Yes, Kimmel crossed a line, but no. The consequence he faced wasn't a real career-ending punishment. It was more a symbolic gesture. ABC managing optics rather than doling out justice. That rare honesty is what separates Maher from the herd. He's willing to recognize the misstep while also calling out the theatrics around the fallout.
This kid doesn't belong in either party. He belongs in a straitjacket. He's an outpatient who should not be out. But you have the right to be wrong or to have any opinion you want. That's what the First Amendment is all about. I was defending it last week on this show against what they're doing in England against the left. Come on, guys, be fair.
Exactly. Maher's critique went beyond simple ribbing. He was spotlighting journalistic and moral responsibility. By rushing to politicize a tragedy, Kimmel not only misinformed his audience, but also turned a sensitive situation into partisan theater. Maher's sarcasm underscored the absurdity. A national figure using incomplete information to score points is reckless at best, irresponsible at worst. The punch lands because it's grounded in truth. Facts, careful consideration, and context should always trump the urge for a viral quip. In short, Maher was teaching a masterclass in accountability while delivering it with that signature biting humor.
There is no organization. Antifa is a broad designation with no identifiable leader and no observable plan, like the Democrats. So Jimmy, let me just say, pal, you did a great, funny show for 2 decades. You should be proud of that. If this firing goes for you the way it did for me, you'll get 23 years on a better net.
Exactly. That's the core of it. ABC's move wasn't about morality lessons or enforcing a political code. It was purely financial. When a network sees a multi-billion-dollar hit to its market value, tough decisions happen fast. Hosts, no matter how popular, become expendable if the balance sheet screams louder than ratings. Kimmel's suspension was a textbook example of corporate risk management. Stop the damage, reassure investors, and stabilize the stock. It wasn't punishment. It was containment. The money dictated the move long before ethics or outrage did.
Although Disney is letting the so-called comedy show return after a week's suspension, some broadcasters are refusing to let his show back on air. Nexstar Media Group, which is the largest local TV broadcasting company in the US, announced that its stations will focus on continuing to produce local news and other programming relevant to their respective markets. What good news. Look, the company says, we made a decision last week to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live following what ABC referred to as Mr. Kimmel's ill-timed and insensitive comments at a critical time in our national discourse. We stand by that decision, pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets that we serve.
Exactly. Ma's jab was as much about the party's chaos as it was about Kimmel. The Democrats, once a disciplined machine, now seem reactive rather than proactive, always responding to crises instead of shaping the narrative. Ma's point hits hard. Without a coherent strategy or clear leadership, they're left flailing, relying on theatrics to stay relevant. It's like watching a ship without a captain, with the crew arguing over which way to steer while the currents of public opinion push them wherever they happen to drift. In short, the party isn't commanding attention. It's scrambling to survive it.
This also comes after Sinclair, the broadcasting company that makes up America's largest ABC affiliate groups, announced that it would be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. And you know what? They know that the audience has had enough of Jimmy Kimmel. Let's just look back at some of his comedy content. Here he is celebrating when they tried to censor Donald Trump.
Trump has been suspended from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even Snapchat. But don't worry, Mr. President, there are still plenty of apps you do have access to. You still have Spotify to drown out the sound of millions of people cheering as you leave. You still have Pet Finder since you're on the outs with Mike Pence. You have Cameo, which will soon be your primary source of income.
Is more than just a blip on the ratings chart. It's a clear indicator that audiences are rejecting one-sided narratives dressed up as entertainment. Networks and advertisers are waking up to the fact that pandering to outrage culture can backfire, costing both viewers and revenue. Kimmel's situation serves as a case study. When content becomes more about politics than comedy, the audience votes with their remote and their dollars. The hesitation from media partners isn't fear for Kimmel personally. It's a reflection of a broader market reality. People are craving balance, authenticity, and entertainment that doesn't feel like a sermon. And as this shift continues, late-night television will either adapt or see its influence and profits continue to erode.